Well, during the height of the 1990s crack epidemic in the district, Ruben Castaneda covered the crime beat for the Washington Post.
But this reporter was hiding a devastating secret. He was a crack addict himself.
And the award-winning journalist wrote a book about his experiences called S Street Rising, which was just released yesterday. And welcome to the program here, Ruben.
Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit. Your book is a gritty but a somewhat riveting account of your time with your battle with drug and alcohol addiction, and yet you have a unique situation. You were also reporting on the crime beat at the same time you had this addiction. Tell us about that.
Well, that's right. I had started using crack cocaine in 1988, a year before I came to Washington to work for the Post as the night police reporter. Now, this was during the time where crack violence was dramatically on the rise. In fact, I came to D.C. a few days after President George H.W. Bush, known as Poppy Bush, delivered a televised speech from the Oval Office declaring a war on drugs. It was perhaps the top issue in the country. And yes, I had a compartmentalized life, doing my job, going out to crime scenes, developing police sources, writing about homicides and shootings, and on my off hours, using crack cocaine.
I understand when you came here to the county to report that you felt you were demoted because of an issue involving a former police chief?
Well, I believed that it felt that way to me.
Okay.
I had gotten caught in the middle of a situation in which a D.C. police chief named Larry Soulsby had lied and slandered in an off-the-record set of comments about a police homicide commander named William Lou Hennessy. That became a big controversy, after which I was sent to Prince George's County, which was not something, an assignment that I asked for or wanted, because all of my sources at the time were in D.C. I knew the city well, and I wasn't initially excited about being assigned to Prince George's.
Now, we've known each other personally for about 15 years now, often covering some of the same court cases in the courtroom. I was surprised when I read a lot of your entries about this, and yet I also remember you as the award-winning journalist. You came up and you put together some award-winning pieces about police brutality here in the county. Tell us about some of that.
Well, yes, I didn't know a lot about Prince George's when I got here. And it took me a few months, almost a year, to sort of get some traction. But eventually, I met this private investigator named Sharon Weidenfeld, who did a lot of work on behalf of defense attorneys and civil attorneys, ferreting out police brutality and other types of corruption. And she eventually got me interested in doing an article about, specifically about attacks by police officers who used canines to terrorize and injure people. I did a very lengthy investigative piece, which was published in April of 1999, which was right about the same time that the FBI launched an investigation into the canine unit. And that is what really kicked things off. After that, I was writing numerous articles about canine attacks and other types of police brutality.
And those were huge stories here in the area. Back to the part about the substance abuse. You've come out, you've written this book, you've now been clean, you said more than 20 years, but tell us, when you came out and talked about this issue, who was it harder for you to tell? Your friends, your colleagues, the police officers that you were reporting on, or maybe the people on the street that may have had some harm come to them because of this?
Well, by the time that I wrote a magazine article for the Washington Post magazine, which was published in December of 2007, I had already been clean for, at that point, for nearly 20 years. So it wasn't really difficult to tell friends or coworkers or people who I worked with, sources. It wasn't really difficult to tell them that. The difficult part was just coming to the decision that I was going to write about this and let the whole world know.
All right, and it is a great book. I just finished it this afternoon. Highly recommend it, and thank you so much for coming here. We want to let everybody know you can find Castaneda's book on called S Street Rising, and it's on Amazon.com.
Okay, thank you.